Good morning, Hacksters! Welcome to Tuesday. It's my favorite day of the week. We have a Hackster Café, and today we're talking to Darian Johnson, creator of the Newt. It's very exciting. I unboxed this last Friday on our channel. Darian, can you tell us a bit about yourself and about this?
Yes, yes. My name is Darian Johnson. I am a hobbyist maker, so I do not spend my day making. I don't spend my day in electronics at all. I started as a software engineer slash consultant slash technology consultant, and I progressed in that field for over the last 20 years. But I'd say, making has been a hobby probably the last 5 or 6. 3D printing, electronics, and over the last 5 or 6 years, my makes have gotten more and more and more complex.
Haha.
And this latest one, this Newt, my latest make is probably the most complex yet, though it doesn't look complex, but it really, really is when you factor in all the pieces I'm trying to fit it. So
I don't know.
that's
It
me.
looks pretty complex to me. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so Newt. It's so I'll start first by saying that I love displays, right? My first
Mm.
makes were displays. Most of my makes are displays. I don't know why. I just like displays. Um, and I wanted to build something low power to put in my refrigerator or my bathroom mirror, really.
Tons of
Yes, those are
displays
on my
here.
see. Yes, I made that. I do a lot of displays. I do a lot of
Super
displays.
cool.
But I wanted to build something low power, something that I could put on a refrigerator or my bathroom mirror or even on my desk and have it be untethered. I really liked these sharp memory and pixel displays,
Mm.
and I was excited about using an ESP32 chip. I actually used the ESP32 S2, and it's just a simple display that can can last for a month and change without power on using the firmware right now and on a 500 milli amp hour battery, and it pulls weather, pulls air quality, quotes, yada yada yada, the normal stuff. Like it's just a cute little display.
I was really excited that it has air quality actually, because that's exactly what I thought of when I live in California, and I was
Yes.
like, "Oh, I wanna have a little
What? Yeah.
just
What is your? Let's see what my air quality is in Dallas. Let's see
ours
what it's like there.
is right now here it's 62. We've had some rain, so it's been pretty okay.
All right. Let's see where are we at. Let's see. Our air quality is good. We're at a 29 right now.
Cool.
So
Oh,
everyone needs to move to Dallas.
we have
So
twice as many. And this is so good. It only took a short while to set up, and, like, it came with this, software on here, which is also
yes.
very advanced, and I guess that comes from your existing background and your work in software. It's just incredible, and I gush about it so much in the video, but I'll let you talk about it now.
Yeah. No. I just felt like so. Look, I think it's a. This is different than a standard, low power eating display. And I wanted to build software that really showed what it could do. So I wanted to, and when it's Wi-Fi connected. So I just wanted to build something that was clean, simple, easy to use, with minimal, um, you know, configuration. So it's not perfect. There's certainly some bugs still in there, but yeah, I just wanted to build. I wanted the device to come with. I wanted the device to work out the box. I guess simple as
Mm.
that. Because maybe there's someone who doesn't want to, who doesn't want to upload the code or add this or that or make changes. So I said, well, let me try to build something that'll work for you if you just open it up and use it, and if you want to build on it, extend on it, whatever, all the code will be available for people to modify and alter and do whatever else with.
Sweet, and we have a comment from Tariq saying, "I can't wait to buy it." Speaking of which, let's look at the product
Yes,
page for this. So it's not yet ready to launch,
but
but
we're
it does
close. We're
close.
close. We're
What's
close.
your do you have an estimate?
We. I
I know those are
think.
dangerous.
I know it's dangerous. I think it'll be my desire is for it to be on Thursday. I think we're going to go live on Thursday. So I
Wow!
think we're like days away. We're just firming up like one or two things or one or two pictures. Now I know I've said it and I've jinxed myself, and then it'll
I
be
know.
Monday for now. But but the
So
goal is for it to
exciting.
be Thursday, and then maybe do a tear down video and talk a little bit about how why I made the choices I made with some of the hardware.
Oh, yeah.
But that's the goal. That's the goal.
And we have some of those questions for you today. But everyone, just first up, you can just subscribe on the
Yes.
Crowd Supply page, which is linked below. Just scroll down,
Yes.
click the link, and put your address in, and you can get notified when it does go live.
Yes. 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 Please do. Yes.
So you really emphasize, there's a couple things that I'm interested in talking about
Yeah.
here. Let's start with the display. So it's similar to an e-ink display, but it's not the same. What are some of the
It's not the
differences?
same. Yes, it's a memory and pixel display. So and I don't understand this very well, so I'm certain I'm going to say something wrong. If so, someone like up, add a comment and say what I got wrong. But but at the highest level, it's a it's a one color display, like a pixels on or off, and there's memory on the display that saves whether that pixel is on or off. As simple as
Mhm.
that. So you can unplug, or you can actually keep power low. It still does require some level of current, and it requires a 1 hertz refresh. So every second you've
Mm.
got to seconds or so you got to do a refresh, but it'll save it, and there's no need for software refreshes or anything else. So you can actually shut your microcontroller down, and it will retain the device. And it's super fast. The refresh is super fast, which is what was important to me because I wanted to
Mm.
use it as well, number one, I wanted someone to be able to toggle the different features and not deal with the e-ink screen
Oh,
refresh, right? Because
yeah.
after like 10 refreshes, you've got to do the whole black, white thing, and that just drives you nuts. So, and I wanted to build a timer, like a kitchen timer. And I like that just won't work for an E8 display because every 10 seconds you're going to lose a second or two because you're going to have to refresh the whole screen or whatever. So that's why I
Ah.
chose the memory and pixel. It's certainly more expensive, but it's sharper. I love the way it looks. It's the same one used in the play date. So for anyone who's followed kind of the play date,
Oh!
it's the same. It's
Is
the
that the
same.
teenage engineering one, or what was
Yeah,
it
I
that?
think so. I think so.
Little crank.
And yes, with the crank, exactly. And then there's a smaller version of this. The Pebble watches were made with a smaller version of this sharp memory display.
Oh!
So
And in this picture, it looks like it's backlit, but it's actually some kind of, like, reflection?
it's kind of reflect. It's not backlit, so it's not. You can backlight these devices. I
Hmm.
chose not to because I wanted to keep the cost down, and I just thought that added complexity.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but it's very easy to read. It's
I'm
probably
trying to see
probably
this,
my
like.
pictures, just the me taking the photo, and yeah, like
Ooh!
the light shining on.
Look at
Oh
that, it
no,
does look
yes,
backlit in this too. This
it
is a
does a
great
little
little
bit.
assembly,
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah.
We'll get to
Oh
this later.
yes. I think I might be more excited
So
about
good.
the not more excited, but I love the little desktop stand as much as I love the device, which we can talk about here in a little bit.
Oh, let's just jump in on that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this thing is really cool. It's got a couple of different living hinges in here,
Yes. Yes.
flexures, and it smells really nice because it's made out of some kind of particle board. Is this MDF?
Yes.
What is this?
Yep. Particle board, MD. I always get the
It's so
letters mixed
nice.
up, but it's some kind of engineered board. Yes, that's exactly
Yeah,
it. Yes.
and you got the little Newt logo on here,
Yeah. So
and you got. Oh, sorry. Mm.
no, I was going to cut you off. Yeah, I just I was saying yes. I knew I wanted a desktop display, and I didn't want to 3D print it. I just thought it would take too long to 3D print, and I wanted to do
Oh,
a bunch of
Phil's got
them.
a flat.
Yes, there it goes.
Look at that.
So I thought about using a laser cutter. I've got a Glowforge, which has been sitting in my office doing
Ah.
nothing. But I read some things about living hinges. Like, oh, I can design that. So I actually designed it in Fusion 360, exported it as a whatever file I need to, some kind of image file or something, then loaded it onto the Glowforge and printed it away. And then it took maybe 3 or 4 iterations, but I really loved living hinges. Like I did not think I would enjoy this as much as I did. Like it's just
Mm.
a very interesting way to make a very like they're really easy to cut. So it's a quick cut time, it's a quick manufacture time, and that was important for me because I think I'm going to be making a lot of these by hand. I think the new I'm going to send to an assembly house, so they'll assemble that. But I wanted to
Uh-huh.
keep some of it in house to try to keep costs down, as low as possible. So I'm actually going to try to print all these on my Glowforge, but I needed it to. Like, I can't like time is money, right? So I needed
Yeah.
something simple that could be produced with minimal cuts that would serve the purpose.
It's amazing. The whole thing, is it's one piece, it packs down flat, there's no assembly, all you do is bend the pieces into place, and I've bent this a bunch by now, and it, like,
Yeah,
still it's very strong and durable,
I mean that's
despite being a.
exactly it. We. I keep saying we because every company's like we is me. So the royal we, I guess. I wanted to use acrylic at first, and I just felt like acrylic just wouldn't last as long,
Mm,
which is why I went to the particle board.
it looks so good, and this other logo on here is the name of your shop,
Ah,
your house.
yes, my shop, Fambili. Fambili is it's an African word that means forward. So um, so it means forward, and I
Cool.
chose that just because I don't know, it just felt like it was right for me. Like this is all about me moving forward in my maker journey, not necessarily trying to, I love my day job, and I will be doing that for for a long time, I think. But I think I've got something to contribute to the community. And I was trying to think of a name, and I knew that Fambili was forward in Zulu, so I was like, that's a great name. It sounds kind of Italian, but it's not. Fambili, but it's not. It's not Italian. It's Zulu, but it means forward. Yeah, so that's how I came with the name, and
That's so cool.
and this is the first product, and maybe there'll be some others. We'll see.
I love the logo too. Of course, matching with the forward idea and the little
Yes.
QFN chip there. That's so cool. Wait, it's
And
not the
I wish
QFN.
I could say I did some fancy thing. It was like I was just like, I just want to keep this as simple as possible. So Microsoft PowerPoint, let's see what icons are in there. Let's merge some things together, and
Huh,
that's your gonna be your logo. So
legit, if it
yeah,
works.
exactly.
Um, Another question about your board. Okay, I have two more questions about
Yeah,
design specifically. You mentioned on the site, of course, that every component on this board has been selected for its low power features. And
yes.
I wondered if you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I started first. So shout out to the open source community because I started to build this using a lot of stuff, primarily from Adafruit. I looked a lot at
Mm,
their MagTag board. I looked at some stuff from SparkFun, and then there's some other makers who've done some similar things. So I used a lot of that for inspiration. And then starting with that as design, I went to DigiKey or Mouser or wherever and said, okay, I need to find something similar to this, but operates at a low quiescent current. So like the voltage
yeah.
regulator is a more expensive voltage regulator, but operates at a lower
Ah,
current. We do some things like what else is there? I've got a bunch of um, what else do I have? Now I feel like now I feel like I can't remember
on the
what's on the
spot.
board because I talk to
Yeah.
it all the time. Now you put me on the spot. No, there's certainly that we've that's the other thing. Enable chips. I choose a lot of chips that have an enable pin so that I
Ah,
can draw that low and then purposely bring the chip high to enable it. So we do that for the amp, which drives the speaker. I think I do that for. I keep the RTC active. Actually, I don't disable that because I need that for any alarm and time setting.
right, yeah.
There's probably one or two other things. So the RTC is another one. Another one. Well, how could I forget about the RTC? Which was a pain to find, but I love this little
Uh,
RTC. It's super low quiescent current, like 45 nanoamps. Does everything I need it to do: alarms, timers, countdown timer, periodic timer. This thing's awesome. The only challenge is that it's a beast to solder by hand. It
oh
is a
man.
nightmare to solder by hand.
Oh
But if you
no.
can get past that, like it's actually a really good chip.
But you're gonna be doing the future ones through an assembly house, you said?
Yes, yes,
Nice.
yes, yes.
Not your
Like
problem anymore.
not my problem anymore. Not my problem. So
You do mention that there's so many different timer capabilities, and there is a buzzer so that you can do an audible timer, and you can
yes,
run multiple simultaneously manage a periodic timer, a countdown timer, and an alarm. I think that's so cool.
yes, yes. Now, in full transparency, maybe it'll be fixed by in the next week or so. The periodic timer certainly works fine. The alarm works fine. The countdown timer needs a little bit of work. So it's not exactly working okay. I do have a version out there, but it's not quite right. But more to come. Like
Yeah,
it
maybe by
gets
the time people get them or something. Yeah.
exactly. That's the hope. That's the hope. So
Someone asks, super curious if one can hook this up to home.
Home Assistant and our ESP Home. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So the first answer is yes. 100% absolutely. Um, I've started looking at trying to write sample code for both. I have not gotten that far yet, so that's probably number three on the list.
Mm,
Option number one is just get the Arduino version working with a couple of extra features. So there's two or three things I just feel like are missing before I ship the product. One is getting the timer to work. One is software updates. So if I can get those two things working,
mm.
that'll be number one. Number two is creating a Circuit Python version.
Right.
So I want this to be extensible for other people to use. And then I think three and four might be the, the Home Assistant or the ESP Home configuration. Let's give you some examples of that. That's the goal.
Cool. And you have a bunch of examples for how people might use these
Yes.
habit trackers. I love this habit tracker. I've been using it actually to track when I take my pill every day for like various meds. And
Yeah.
it's perfect. You can like go back and forth between days. It doesn't let you say that you've done one in the future, so you have to
Right.
do it every day.
Have to do it every day. So the habit tracker is the one. Like if I were to do another version of this,
Uh-huh.
let me say it like this: if I were to build something new, inspired by this, I think I would just build a habit calendar, like a full-on just habit calendar, but that
Ah,
could track multiple ones. So I keep finding like I want to track when I take my like I've got to take medicine. I've got high blood pressure. Surprise, surprise.
mm,
So I have to take that, or when I go to the gym, or when I do X or Y or Z. So I like when I track 5 or 6 things, but right now I can only track
yeah.
one thing. So I feel like I need more. I need more. I need more ways to track how I'm failing at life. So
I mean, I use various apps to track stuff, but it's so much more satisfying to do it on this, and it feels somehow more physical, even though that doesn't make sense really.
no, no, no. I get it. I 100%. Yeah, it just feels like yeah, yeah. And I like being able to look at it and see my success again or lack of success. So um,
And you have
anyway,
this super cool video on your YouTube channel about sort of prototyping this on a breadboard. It's incredible. Look at this.
yeah, no, there was this, and yeah, and this is when I had physical buttons. So I went back and so actually, this is why the community's been great. So I've been working on this for a year, and I'd say maybe after the first 2 months, I was having a conversation with someone, and they were like, "You've got to tell people about this. Like, don't just build something and release it and say, hey, it's here. Like, no one's gonna care. Like, bring them
Right.
on the journey." And one of the first pieces of feedback I got was around the buttons, and someone said, "Hey, like buttons sound good, but it feels like just a lot of pressing. Would capacitive touch be better?" I was like,
Mm.
"Well, let me see." So I switched to capacitive touch. I don't know. Maybe I should go back to physical buttons. Maybe that's Newt version 2. But I got that specific feedback, explicit feedback from the community, and made a change as a result.
I mean, plus it's easier to assemble, right? You don't have
It's
to
a
solder anything.
ton easier to assemble, and that's the other thing. Like it's not, I thought I would have to do like two-sided assembly, which isn't, it's not as bad as it is. It's certainly harder to do in my home, in my office,
Uh-huh.
but like a board manufacturer would be able to cover it. So we'll see. I mean, I do think that having buttons lowers your current, your sleep current. So I have found using the
Oh.
capacitive touch, like it's got a range in sense. So it might range from 30 to even 300 um, microamps. So
Mhm.
probably a wider range that I want. If I configure like the 2 buttons at the top, one's a reset, one's a boot. You can use the boot for a wake as well. If I use that as a wake button, it's the current when the board is asleep is lower and it lasts a little longer on this battery.
Ah,
So something to think about.
that's right. You do have these 2 buttons at the top for
Yes,
boot and reset, but then you can reprogram them. Um,
exactly.
that's so cool. I hadn't even thought about I didn't even notice that there's nothing soldered to the top of the board. It
There's
probably brings your
nothing.
costs down a little bit too.
It does. It does. It certainly does. I mean, and I love the way it looks. God, I love
It's
the way this thing
gorgeous.
looks.
It's so good.
um, yeah, I love the way this thing looks. So the only problem, not the only problem, but a problem with capacitive touch is a case, right? So I initially thought I got a case for the board, and I had the darndest time getting a
Oh.
case and having you know making the case thin enough to register the capacitive touch. So I
Right.
just ditched it and then moved to this desktop stand instead. So.
Well, it looks gorgeous as is. I have to ask, this grid texture on the surface,
Yes,
is this functional? Is this aesthetic? Is it both?
it's functional. It's fun. I
Oh,
mean,
well, good.
it's aesthetic because it's just the way. I mean, it looks fantastic. I love the way it looks, but it's functional.
Does it have to do with the radio?
The ground plane. Yeah, the ground plane for the capacitive touch. So that's why. So
Oh!
it can't be a flat plane. Again, this is where I tell everybody like Darian Johnson is not a full-fledged engineer. I went to school for engineering, but I haven't actually like done real engineering work in 20 years. But I read a lot of manuals and I follow a lot of people. And Lamore Free talked about this in one of her
Hmm.
videos. So on the MagTag, she had to hatch the ground plane, and she talks about why she does that for capacity. Not the MagTag, actually, the one of the devices that has capacitive touch. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me read more about this. Let me figure out how to do it. And then I put the design in, and the capacitive touch works just fine. So that's why the hatch is there.
Aha! That makes sense, actually. I've done a little bit of touch stuff, and it's like if you have that large of a ground plane, then it's so sensitive that it just picks up everything.
Exactly.
Mm. Well, you keep saying that you're, like, not, really a hardware guy, but it's incredible, honestly, this thing, and again, everyone, the link is below if you wanna go subscribe to updates when this gets released, possibly in a couple of days, possibly not.
Hopefully in a couple of days, we'll see.
Yeah, we have our unboxing from last Friday, and now let's talk about a couple of your other projects because there's so much
Yes,
that you've done.
yes,
We already had a
yes,
video about the Newt. That's really cool to hear about everything that went into it. And tell us about you're really into displays. You made this Make It So story.
yes. The
It's
Star
so
Trek,
good.
the Star Trek display. No, I love that. Look, I love Star Trek, and if everyone out there, if you haven't watched Star Trek, you're missing out. Your life is going to be better if you watch Star Trek. So that's the that's DBJ's piece of advice for everybody. Um, no, I was so a couple things. I've been toying around with an idea for a while. I had a bunch of parts, and I just wanted to make something. I just wanted to make something, and this is maybe a year and a half ago, maybe or two
Mhm.
years ago. And I just wanted to make something, and I had to take a week off of work just because of weirdness. So I took a week off and I spent the week building this, and I wanted it to be functional. And I wanted it to look like an LCARS display, and I wanted it to
Yeah.
get my temperature and my body body my weight, and I wanted to have the weather and yada yada yada. So a lot of this actually went into the new. So this led to the new. So building this was like, this is awesome. I'd love to build like a display, a low power display that would sit
Look
on
at
a wall.
that.
And then I was like, well, there's no way I could do that. Yeah, no, it's awesome. So yeah, like there's still there's all these APIs. So that was my weight. COVID pounds are real. So maybe maybe the weight's a little a little more now.
Look at this
But
LED
yeah,
calculator.
no, yes,
Ah,
LED calculator. There's I put a voltage reading device in
yeah.
there because I plan to use it. Like I wanted it to be functional. I wanted it to be
Ah,
super duper
cool.
functional.
Oh, yeah, look at
So
that.
yeah, so if you wanted to, so I use it to measure, not so much now because I have a better voltage measurement system, but I want it to measure voltage for some of my other devices. So I've got like the banana plugged or prong things to plug in and
Right.
measure. Yeah, so
This is so cool. Is this 3D print post processed in any way, or is that just the
it's
color of the
not.
filament?
That's
Wow.
just the color of the filament. It's just the
What
color of the filament. And
what
my
filament
plan
is it?
was that I did plan to like spray paint it. So I printed
Uh-huh.
two or three versions and I spray painted one, but it was in the middle of the summer in Texas and it warped. And I was like, well, not
Yikes.
the best idea. So we'll just go with whatever. We'll just go with our filament I have. And I had this
Mm.
decent silver, and that's what I did. Oh yeah, and then the AWS stuff. Like almost everything is integrated. Almost all of my designs are integrated into the cloud for some reason.
Mm.
And typically that's because I want to put in as much functionality as possible. And if I can let the microcontroller do what the
Mm.
microcontroller does really well, and if I can let some other cloud compute do the cloud compute stuff, like I just get the best of both worlds. So
Right, yeah.
um,
You can outsource the smarts. Makes so much sense.
exactly, outsource the smart to someplace else. Outsource the smart to someplace else. That's exactly it.
Cool. Ah, so many good things on here. Uh, which one would you pick to talk about next?
Um, so you know
We're
what?
gonna talk about the compost stuff because we have to.
Okay, okay. So we'll save the
Okay.
composter. Let's talk about the Mystic Mirror.
Okay.
So that one right there.
I'm
So
gonna get rid of
this
my
one's
little admin thing.
so Mystic Mirror. So this one's important just because this was my first like real make. So I
Mm,
you know so I'm gonna take a little indulgence and tell a 2 minute story.
please.
Um, so maybe a bit of a personal story, but I think I'm okay sharing this. So I would say so this was probably built 2016, 2017, maybe. Um, but but I was at a place maybe in my career where I was struggling for a little bit, and I just kind of going through the motions. I didn't love work. I was just kind of blah, right?
Mm.
And I got a chance to join a new organization in my company, and they were focused on building things in the public cloud. So Azure, AWS, Google, whatever. So this group was focused on building stuff in the Amazon cloud, so AWS.
Mm.
And I did some studying, did some learning, and I just realized that these classes just weren't doing it for me, and I should build something. Like, what the hell am I going to build? So I Google and search, and then I find this website called Hackster. And I'm like, I don't know what this is. And this Hackster website has this contest about building some, thing connected to Alexa, which is run some in some of the AWS cloud. I was like, oh, I can learn by doing this. So you know, building that thing, building that Mystic Mirror, I mean, changed my whole maker trajectory, changed my professional trajectory, just changed everything. Like,
Wow.
like Hackster, I mean, I say this, and I know it sounds melodramatic, but like seriously, like Hackster, like that changed my life. Like that just changed
Ah,
the trajectory of where I was going. So that is why
ah.
I am, that's why I love this website. I love this community. I just like technology can make a difference for everybody. If it can make a difference for me, can it make a difference for anybody and everybody? I will believe that till the day I die. You don't have to do this for a living. You don't have to live and die and make your own circuit board. You don't have to live and die with electronics and make your own circuit boards, but learning this stuff can make a difference in your life. I fully believe that. And it did for me. Anyway, that's why this video is
Absolutely.
important.
I definitely agree, as someone who's come through a similar trajectory. Well, not really a similar trajectory, but, like, had that same moment, obviously, like, I
Yeah,
also, self-taught well, you actually went to school for it, but the feeling is very much there, like,
yeah,
that it really can change your life, and, of course,
yeah.
you won, one of these awards for best Alexa voice services with the
Yeah,
Raspberry
no,
Pi.
and that got me noticed by some people, and then my company folks were like, "Hey, this Darian guy's, I, hey, he's kind of doing some interesting." It just changed everything. Like I
Ah,
talked about it more than I mean to, but like
no way!
it's yeah, it's a big deal for me. So
That's what we're
anyway,
here for! We're all
yes,
human beings.
that's why we're talking. Yes, exactly.
So good. And yeah, there's so much you've done a really incredible job with sharing, uh, all your, information
But that's the
about
way it's
this
supposed to
field as
work,
well.
right? It's
Exactly,
supposed to work.
yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to work, right? Like I built this based
Yeah,
off what
yeah, yeah.
somebody else built. Hopefully, someone else builds a better version of everything that I built. Like that's the way the flywheel works, right? So
Mhm.
anyway,
Oh, I love that. The flywheel, yeah.
yes,
Like, you take energy out, you put energy in, and even, even the taking energy out is still, like, you're still collaborating with people and getting
exactly.
the information sharing happening, and it's so
Yes,
good. Oh,
yes,
man.
yes, exactly.
This is just amazing. This whole physical build and everything. Ah,
This
look
was
at that.
and like I would love to build another version of this. Like I knew so little. Like I was so I mean, that thing's got more like duct tape and and hot glue than and horrible like I mean, I'm just like we all grow, right? We grow in
Totally.
everything we do, right? So one of these days, I will make a better version of this. Like I will make a larger, better version of this. Just not you know on the not a today thing. But
Mm,
I mean, a lot of this even is in the new, right? The same principles of a display that's easy to use, that's
mm.
has a lot of information that you might want to access quickly. So a lot of that came from that first build.
Right, yeah. I was gonna ask, like, what would you change? But it sounds like you've already mentioned, like, you'd upgrade the physical hardware of it, you'd make a nicer, larger
Uh,
display and things.
the biggest problem with that thing is that it weighs a ton. Like it's so bulky.
Oh.
Like the screen is big, the Raspberry Pi has to stay plugged in. Like
Mm,
it's just hard to move. Like it's hard to put someplace. And I really like thin displays. I like
that's
thin smart
right.
displays that either can sit on a desk or sit on the wall, and that just can't that design won't work. So anyway,
Right, and this one could, like, literally be magneted to a refrigerator. In fact, you shipped me some, like, little
yes,
magnetic,
that's me. Yeah,
connectors
yeah,
on
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah. So like, here's a version here
Ooh,
that has the magnet feet on there, and you can just put it on a refrigerator, and it'll stick. So
so good, and the battery life is such that you don't have to, like, keep it plugged in or anything.
exactly, exactly. Right now, the battery, so like a 500 milliamp battery that'll work okay for maybe a month and a half. Um, but if you add a larger battery, you can certainly go longer. So
Mm. Speaking of upgrades, if you were to make, well, I know that this is maybe a bit of an unfair question because
yeah, no,
you're still working on releasing this one, but
yes.
if you were gonna do, like, another Newt from scratch right now, what would you change?
What would I do? Yeah, no, I thought a lot about this. I would switch chips. Number one, so I use the
Oh, yeah.
ESP32S2, which is a great chip. It's a little slow, but I like it because it has native USB, so you don't need a secondary
Oh.
serial to USB programmer like you do with an ESP32 or ESP 8622. Uh, yes. I would change it to so I would switch to the ESP32S3, which is
Mm,
dual core, so similar to the ESP32, dual core with the native USB. So that's what I would do. That's number one. But that chip
mm,
was just released, and I think there's still some software bugs with it, firmware bugs. So that would be one thing. I think I would put physical buttons on it. Like I go back and forth. I love the way it looks,
mm.
but there's like the click. the click of a button,
Oh, it's
I
true.
don't know, like that feels that feels a little real. The other challenge is, again, this is the case of me not reading the manual. So we have 10 capacitive touch buttons on the front, but in deep sleep, only one capacitive touch button works. So my original plan was to have like the larger buttons on the right. So these buttons were originally going to have logos. So one for
Oh.
weather, one for, oh, sorry, one for weather, maybe one for, you know, um, quotes, or one for air quality. So it's a quick touch. So right now you have to do two touches. And my thought
Mm,
was this will be a quick menu, but it won't, only one button will wake it up in deep sleep. So I had to change the design a little bit. So I
I
think with this other chip,
see.
I can put more buttons in, for at least from a capacitive touch perspective in deep sleep, or physical buttons they could all sleep. Um, I think it would change the RTC. I would change the real time clock. I think. I love this clock. Uh-oh. Are you still
Oh,
there? Did I
yeah,
lose you?
totally there. I'm just
Oh, good.
uh,
I thought my
listening with rapt
earbuds were dying.
attention.
Oh no,
I'm curious.
I think my earbuds were starting to die. So okay.
Oh no.
I know the earbuds are going to die. So I things like that. Maybe I do a larger screen, but the screens are so expensive.
Oh
Like
yeah.
there's a 4.4 diameter inch one, but it's man, that thing's expensive.
Oh
So
yeah.
so I don't know. So I've got ideas, and I want people to tell me. Like I'd love to get people to give.
Oh
I
yeah,
would love people
absolutely.
to use it, tell me ideas, and if this thing's successful and we decide to do a version two, I'll wrap that stuff in there.
Yeah, and people can find you on Twitter at Darian
Yes,
B. Johnson, and then
yes,
also, of course, on Hackster, and also
yes,
various other places. You're on Hackaday as well with a really cool wearable over here.
yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
People can
That
find
that
you.
that one died on the vine.
Oh,
I
oh,
started it and then I kind of stopped. But I've got
oh.
some new ideas. I'm going to steal some ideas from some other folks and resurrect that make at some point. So
Mm.
we'll see.
Before we move on, can you say why you would want to change the RTC? Is it just that hand soldering, or is it something?
It's the hand soldering. Like I think it's
Ah,
expensive in the hand soldering. I think if I had to do it again, I would get a different RTC that was maybe easier to solder. Because I think the assembly
that makes sense.
place might have problems with it too. I don't know. And then I would just change. So I'm going to go super deep for 1 minute, and I'll stop. Okay.
Okay, cool.
So the RTC, this RTC is special because it does you know, four things. We talked about three. Like it has the periodic timer, the alarm, and the countdown timer. The
Mhm.
fourth thing is it has another pin for a frequency out. So it can send out on a different pin a frequency out. And most other RTCs, they
Ah,
share the interrupt and the frequency out pin. So I needed an interrupt
oh.
pin and I needed a frequency out pin. The frequency out pin goes to the display because the display needs a 1 hertz refresh
Oh, yeah.
every second. So that's what I use the RTC for. So it's like the RTC does a bunch. So
Mm.
but maybe I would go simple and maybe just use a simpler RTC and a 555 timer. I don't know, right?
Mm.
So I maybe could have done that. So maybe I over engineered it.
Oh,
But
it's the
anyway,
name of the game. You gotta over
exactly,
engineer something.
exactly.
Um, so, you've also done a lot with this smart composting system,
Yes,
and I'd
yes,
love to hear some about that. You went to China,
I
uh,
did.
and took
Yes.
this project there. Tell us about that whole journey. Where
The
did you start
compost
with
compressor.
this, and what
Yeah.
were the different iterations like?
So, oh gosh, like iteration one. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Like click on smart compost system.
Sure.
Do you see that
Uh,
one? Scroll up to go to your right.
oh my gosh.
Uh,
There we go.
There we go.
Oh, I
That's
think I've
version
already got
one.
this one. There we go.
Like
This one?
that was version one, and like it was a very early version. We'll
Mm.
just say it like that. But we've started composting at my house. My wife, got a large composting bin, and I was like, there's got to be a better way to make compost. Like there's got
Mm.
to be some science behind it. So I got a thermometer, got a water sensor, I got a methane reader, and we just started plugging probes into the compost to see
Ah,
if we could capture readings. And maybe we, based off of certain readings, it's not hot enough. Okay, we need to stir it more, or it's too dry, or we need to add more water, or it's too wet. We need
oh,
to
yeah.
add more, carbon-based elements or whatever. So that was the first version, and that was just literally PVC and sensors stuck into the compost. And over time, I realized that I needed an app to actually see the status. I needed something else. So that was version one, and then version two was what I went to China with, and then version
Ah,
three is what I submitted for the Hackaday, one of the Hackaday competitions,
uh-huh.
and got an honorable mention or something for it.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, so so
Let me
yes,
see if I can
compost
find this.
compressor.
Do, 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 do. Summer.
There, that's the
There we
that's
go.
the one that's the final version of it. So
Ooh.
I ended up buying an
Oh,
actual
look at
compost
this.
bin, adding stuff, making a display for it that would stick onto your refrigerator, so you could actually know what you need to do. Like it was a great project that I spent way too much time and money on.
It's really beautiful though.
I loved building this thing. Like I loved it. But then I realized also that like at some point, like once you know how to build compost, you know how to build compost. So we don't use the professor anymore because now we know what to do. Like now we know
Right.
based off our own experience what to do with it. Anyway, so
That makes sense. Tell us about your experience with the hackathon. This is really interesting.
so I yeah, I was so I geez, where to start? I've never been to China. I've never been any place really, right? I'm a bit of a homebody. So that's going to change once COVID. Once we get over COVID, I'm traveling all over the place. But
Mm.
anyway, got a chance to go to China. Built this compost professor. Was named a young maker, which I don't feel that young, but I was young then. I was young enough to
Uh-huh.
go. So I got to go, and I think I made an honorable mention there too. Like it was just a great experience. It was great. I'd never been in a hell. I had never been overseas, but I certainly had never been in a true hackathon. That was my first experience making
Mm.
something with a bunch of other makers. There being a bay of tools and 3D printers. It was just an awesome experience. Like I loved it, and I can't wait to do it again. I'm trying to get my girls, one of my girls. So I have four kiddos, and my oldest is starting to get into electronics, but
Ooh,
she's I don't know. I'm trying to convince her to do it with me and maybe bribe her with my
yes.
money. We'll see. We'll see. She's
That's
said no so
cool.
far, but maybe I can convince her at some point.
Oh. One thing that stuck out for me about your story is that you said that, you meant to be, upgrading your project while you were there, but that one part broke while you were on the airplane, and so you had to sort
Yes.
of recreate that from scratch while you're there? Can you
It
tell us about
was
that?
yeah, I'm trying to think what was it the sensor?
It sounds really
Something broke.
intense.
Something broke, and I ended up
Oh.
spending half a day running around China trying to find the part, right, which didn't work.
Oh,
But
no.
it's funny. There's two things. So number one, like one part broke, and we ended up. I think it was a set of LEDs or some kind of sensor, but we were
Mm.
able to make it work. It was fine. The other thing, that's really funny is that I thought the methane sensor was broke. So the sensor reads methane to understand like if there's a higher concentration of methane, that means you're not doing something right. Like well-maintained compost should not emit methane. Poorly maintained compost will emit methane, and methane readings are off the
Ah.
chart. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why is did we break the sensor? Then I realized we're in Beijing. Like,
Oh,
yeah, like the air quality in Beijing is going to be slightly different than the air quality in Dallas, Texas. So
right.
that's why my sensor was going haywire. So once I realized that, we reconfigured it and everything was fine.
Oh, right. Oh, that's good. There's one other tiny thing about this story is that I just happened to notice that you said your friend made this stuffed waffle
Yes,
iron.
yes, yes,
I
yes.
I'm a waffle fanatic, and this is, like, life-changing, so
Oh,
thank
you
you for
should.
mentioning that.
I'll give him the quick plug. So Mike
Cool.
Bradford, his name, we went to college together. He was a maker before I was, but he's not an electronics maker. He's like a physical like maker. He
Uh-huh.
designed the stuffed waffle iron because the man loves to cook as well as eat. So he designed this thing. It's doing really
Oh my
well. He just got
gosh.
named to like Oprah's favorite things,
Oh my
which is
gosh.
a huge like he loves it. He's like, I can't even keep the inventory in anymore.
Oh my
So
gosh.
yeah, so we've got one here. He's got like I love it. So
And it helps you remove the waffle too.
yeah, no, he designed this great
I'm gonna
scissor
cry.
speaker. Like, yeah, yeah, no, it's fantastic. Like, no, yeah, no, he's doing great things. Like, I'm like he's the entrepreneur. Like, I'm gonna buy stock in his company when he decides to go public or whatever.
Absolutely. So, about you,
Yeah.
you've built all these cool things, and it sounds like you're just getting started, with what you wanna do. What tool or, material or something would really level you up to next? What if you had, like, an unlimited budget, what's the next tool or machine or whatever that you would get?
This is cool. I thought you were going to ask me something else, and I'm going to tell you.
Ooh,
I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to say something because I think
perfect.
this is a great idea. That something to do. I What slowed me down in this process was the PCB manufacturer. If I could get like one of those
Oh,
desktop
yeah.
PCB like mills things, like that would be sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Now I don't do enough PCB manufacturer to warrant, that investment, but that would be pretty neat. And then I think the other thing, I mean,
This kind of
like
guy.
I built these either by hand or yes, the band of tools. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. Like that
Yeah.
would be the level up. I would do that
Yeah.
or
Oh, they don't sell it anymore. What?
but they
No. But
don't
they
know. What
but
do you
they
mean?
but they have this CNC milling machine which will do much of the same stuff. So
Okay then.
it's just
Okay.
more intense.
Got it. Okay. Oh, it does
Maybe.
aluminum too. Oh, ooh.
I got to do more
Okay.
research on this. I'm not on the
I
latest,
know.
but yeah.
So
There's
something
the-
like that. Like that would
Mm.
probably would have sped things up. And then assembling the boards was just
Oh,
man, that was just a beast. Like and like I used the toaster oven for some. I did some with a hot air kind of
mm.
rework station. Nothing like no process is great. Like I had to figure out a better
Yeah,
way to
yeah,
do
yeah.
that. So what about you? Like for enough, I don't. I hate. I have so many questions for you. Like so, here are the two things you need to do. You need to do one of these hack chats where we reverse it, and someone interviews you because I mean I've heard you in some other podcasts and other things, but I think as a maker, that there's lots of things that we want to ask you that you don't want to talk about yourself. So I think you should reverse that. That's number one. And then number two, I
You can be the interviewer.
exactly because I've got tons of questions, right? Like your little I keep calling it like so I love the again we chatted about this online the owl and the ro and the fox the finnet
Yeah.
the fox both of them
Better-
fantastic yes so
I
I
have a
would
new one
love
that's like a big blob of fur right now, but it's
oh
gonna have like a little eye on here. Let me see if I can turn this on.
is it like a
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
it's a single eye thing
Yeah,
like
it's
okay
gonna be a little different, but it's gonna have little grabby paws and a little heater, so
oh
I've designed
oh
a PCB so
okay
it can purr.
nice
It's
are
gonna
you
be really
using so
fun.
you designed the one and I don't know the name the one with the rib cage.
Birdcage.
No, not wasn't it a rib
Rib
cage or
cage!
something? Yeah, the rib
Yeah,
cage.
rib
Yeah, yeah,
cage.
yeah.
Let me find that thing. Oh, my
I know it's not called the
companion
rib
core.
cage. Like I just
It's
remember it
around
being
here.
the rib cage PCB.
Yes.
So are you going to put that into that?
Yes. In
Yes.
fact,
Okay.
it's already hooked up. I just don't have it.
Ah,
Maybe I have it right here.
yeah. So what's the name of it? That's like I keep calling it the
This
rib cage
one's called.
PCB.
Oh, this is the companion core.
The
Because
companion
it's
core.
designed
Better name
for.
than the rib cage. than the rib cage PCB. Okay,
It's
the
supposed to be the
companion core.
center of your robot. But yeah, here's a hooked up version. My desk is a nightmare.
Oh
But
my, this was a disaster.
right.
Oh,
But this is it with the little breadboard and the controller hooked up to some servos.
oh,
This was gonna be Roko's head, but then I just was getting frustrated with the materials and stuff, and
yeah.
uh, but yeah.
Interesting. So like that would be like I would like to hear about that at some point. So and then I am fascinated. So I'm going to ask you this other question, and I've asked other people this. Like, what's the one tool? It can be a tool, it could be a microcontroller, it could be whatever it is. It could be a
Ooh, this is
sketch
gonna be a
pad.
hard one.
What's the one thing that you can't live without? What's the one tool that you always have on your desk that's always nearby that you just that just makes everything go?
Oh, there's so many things. Oh man. I'll give you two quick
Okay,
ones. I'll give you. Oh man, there's three things right here.
give me three then.
But I'll be quick.
I know
Okay,
it's
so
your interview. Like I'm asking you questions, whatever. Yeah.
okay, so one of them is this little butane lighter, which is great for melting heat shrink. I get
I've
really
never
annoyed with lighters. It's
So
just like, "Ooh,
I've got a bigger heat gun, but you use the butane thing.
yeah,
Interesting.
I like it. It doesn't have to be hooked up to anything. It's got a ton
Oh
of
my
butane
god.
in it. It gets really hot. You can really direct the focus. So, like,
How
unlike
much does
like
something like that
phlegm.
cost?
Oh, this is like maybe $5 or $10. You can get them at like gas stations and stuff.
Oh, I think I might be getting that. See,
Oh
this is
yeah,
why I asked this question. Like this would totally make
yeah.
my heat shrinking work easier.
It's
Okay.
so good, and it's a focused flame compared to, like, a lighter or whatever. It's like you can direct it really well, and so I was doing a soldering a sensor recently, and I wanted to heat shrink something together without, like, squishing what was inside, and I was
Yeah.
able to get really good control with this. Another
Huh.
thing is that I'm building my own little, like, tools for, just making beautiful, sort of arcane looking tools because I want
Oh.
the tools that I use to be
Oh,
pretty.
okay.
So this is like a PCB ruler, with some like this is a public domain design from like the 20s or something.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Oh,
The
look at
marking system
that.
could be better, but
No,
yeah,
I
that
see. I
works.
get what you're going. That's a very custom. Like no one's gonna have that. Like that's your own
Yeah,
custom
and
like
it's very much
ruler.
inspired by Evil Mad Scientist's one.
Ah, yeah, 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 yeah.
And theirs has inches too, so it's better. But, I wanted one that was,
Uh,
like, aesthetic.
got it. No, that's beautiful.
And then finally, people fangirl all the time about the Omnivice, but I actually do really love it, and, it's like a really heavy, hefty, PCB holder. You, like, spin this up, and you wedge the PCB in there, and then you spin it down again. It can deal with all different shapes of PCBs, and they put some little rubber feet on the bottom and asymmetrically so that it tilts
I've
forward.
heard of this, but I haven't really
Yeah.
used it. I've been using my helping hands, which just never gets the PCB the way I want.
Yeah,
Uh,
and the alligator clips always come off of those for me. I
yeah,
can never get
yeah.
them in the
Oh,
right
yeah. That
angle.
mine. I'm always. Yeah. No. Interesting. See,
This
this is
thing
why I
is
asked this question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's bendy, but I think that it's worth it for me, especially doing videos, because 'cause I've got these little feet on it so that it sits forward and you don't get the
Okay.
reflections
Oh,
from the light.
look at you.
There's also, like, a rod thingy. You could make a stand, but I don't know, I like it
So is
as
there
it's
like sand
very
or something in
hefty.
there? Is it
No, it seems to just be kind of a
just
hole.
heavy?
I don't
Okay.
know. Yeah, it's just
Huh.
super heavy, and it's
All
so
right.
stable. It's, like, rock solid.
Okay.
I really like that about it. So that's my three-part answer to that.
So
Thanks
see
for
now,
asking.
now I've walked away smarter and like and I'm going to order the ruler whenever you decide to release the PCB, and then I'm certainly getting that butane later,
I
like that
gotta do
butane later from
an
Cisco.
update on the ruler because I don't really like the marking system, unfortunately. It works really nicely on Evil Mad Scientist, but I put mine, like, markings in between the things, and I don't think it works as
Uh,
well.
well, it's not bad. It's not
Nah,
bad to
it's
me.
just a version, it's like a prototype.
Yes.
Okay, so, let's see. If you could build okay, so, if you could build anything is kind of a very obvious and standard question. You can answer that one, but also, I know that you built this LCARS display because the ones from Star Trek are so beautiful.
Yeah.
Are there any other displays that you think are just, oh yeah,
Yes. 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 I've been thinking a lot about this. So I have some of the parts. I just don't have the time. So I love the Black Panther movie. This I think it's a fantastic
ooh
movie.
yeah,
I loved the artwork. I love the Afrofuturism. I just loved all that, and I love the fact that it's I'm gonna call it open meaning. Like the great thing about Star Trek is that there's 60 years of Star Trek with displays and rules and everything. But that's also
mm,
what sucks about Star Trek because you make the display and it's a little different. Someone's like, "Hey, in the real card display, your whatever your words should be, half an inch higher or whatever." Like,
uh,
like I don't need that in my life. I don't need a negative energy in my life. But with
mm,
something like a Black Panther inspired display, there's no rules. There's just one movie, right? I can do whatever I want as long as it's inspired by it. So
mm.
I've been playing around with some stuff with that, and actually, I just got a bunch of Adafruit parts that I just ordered, trying to build it. I just don't have time. I need more time. I need a time machine.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I need
yeah.
to invent. So
That's the
anyway,
Blue
so
Sky
I rambled a
Project
bit. Yes,
answer right
exactly.
there.
The time machine. Yeah.
Oh, is there a particular one of the, displays that you, think I've pulled up this I think their Wakandan alphabet is super gorgeous, and I love how they sort of phase it in. They do this little, like, glitchy rendering thing, and then it sort of resolves into English, but they have this, like, futuristic looking alphabet that they put on everything. It's so good. Oh, sound has died. Oh, no.
Hold on, hold on. Can
Oh,
you hear?
there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So my earbuds died. So we'll just do the rest here. Hopefully you
Okay,
can hear me.
cool. It sounds great, actually. It sounds even better.
Oh, well, doggone it. We gotta start all over. No. So I will send you a link. So I started playing around with some of this, and where I would take those letterings that those runes and then
Mm,
like slowly converting them to English. Like so it would have one
yes.
word and it would translate. But my problem was that I was on the hardware that I was using was just really, really slow. And I kept running out of memory. And my goal was to write it in Circuit Python because I want to teach myself Circuit Python. And I think it's just an
Ah.
interesting language. Almost everything I write is Arduino, but I kind of want to try that. So I had to wait for a new chip. So Adafruit finally released their ESP32 S2 Feather, which I can plug into
Mm.
one of my displays and maybe get it to work or whatever else. So yada yada yada. So I will see if I can find that, because I think I posted it on Twitter playing around with some ideas like a year ago or 6 months ago.
Oh, rad. I love what you just said about you were going to build this project partly because you wanted to learn CircuitPython, and that's also
Yeah.
something I think is magical about this stuff is that you can teach yourself by building projects. It's so good.
Teach by building, absolutely. And again, like I can't say everything I will ever build for the rest of my life will be open source, but I just really believe in this community. I believe in people helping each other. I believe in technology being an enabler. I 100% believe technology is an enabler. Anything that I can do to help somebody, someplace, whether they're 10 or 100 or whatever in between, learn something because they see something cool I made, like I'm all for it. So.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Is there anything you'd like to throw in there before we wrap up here?
No, look, I appreciate you. I appreciate Hackster. I appreciate the role you play in the maker community.
Hey.
I mean, I don't want to throw slander anyplace else. So let me be careful here. I will say it like this. I just think that the community is welcome. Hackster was the first place where I posted my builds. It is still where almost all my builds sit. Even if I build them someplace else, they will typically, some form of them will make it back here. I just really appreciate the work that you and your team and everyone does around the space. It's really, really important for me to tell you that. So thank you.
Likewise, and I think that the tutorials that you do and the work that you do with sharing all that information and presenting it and really telling your story about it is really contributes back in that same way. It's awesome. Ooh, we have a couple extra questions here.
Oh, okay.
Ragnar says, any makers you would recommend people to follow?
Alex.
Yeah.
No, I mean, gosh, there's so many. Who am I liking a lot? I want to be careful because I'm going to miss. So I'm not going to name the list, but who I'm trying to think what maker. I'm into displays a lot now, so there are a couple of makers I follow. I'm going to forget. No, you know what? Here's the one name that you should follow, and I'm going to get Joey's last name wrong, but he's building the sensor watch.
Oh yeah, Joey Castillo.
Yes. I can't wait to see what that watch looks like. So if you want to follow a maker, follow him, because he's been cataloging how he plans to build it. He's been taking these temperature readings on his trek from New York to Texas. I don't even understand what he's doing with that, but like it's just interesting. It's interesting how he talks about how he's building it, how he's tracking it. So I think that's a different way to look at builds. So that would be.
And you mentioned it recently on your Twitter, which everyone.
Because I want to build a watch. Like I would love to build a watch with analog hands. Like I love watches. Like watches are now my new like crack. I can't afford them. I can't afford the really nice ones. I have a couple of nice ones, but I would love to build an analog. I would love to build a digital watch with analog hands and have it like just be hackable. That's what I want to do. That's on the list, but maybe lower, maybe later, maybe a few years away. We'll see.
Love it. And we have this is kind of coming in at the 11th hour, but if you want to say just a little bit more, we definitely did talk about the design process with the capacitive touch buttons earlier, but if there's any one extra tip that you have there.
No, I mean, designing for capacitive touch is really hard. Like I felt like there weren't a lot of great examples and great libraries. So there's an older library. So most of my design I do with Eagle. So Eagle's where I do almost all my PCB work, because that's just where I learned, right or wrong, right? That's where I learned. I may switch to another one at some point. There is an older library for capacitive touch buttons. So I took that and modified it for my buttons here, because I had the darndest time creating my own buttons. So I found a library that's like version 4, version 6, created, and modified it and used it there. So I guess the so what here is, if you want to do capacitive touch, what I did was, number one, look at other boards that are built using capacitive touch, copy liberally. That's why they make it open source. Right? It's an homage, not a copy. So
yeah. And that's what you said. Adafruit's really good with sharing a lot of those designs.
They are fantastic. Like they are. Them inspire all the companies, but Adafruit's the one that Adafruit's the one that like my money go to my children and Adafruit.
Legit. Yeah, I know that feeling. So everybody, you can follow Darian on Twitter, linked below. Go find the Newt on Crowd Supply. Sign up for notifications when it goes live, maybe in a few days here even. Go follow Darian on Hackster, of course. Check out our unboxing of the Newt. I don't know why the thumbnail's weirdly zoomed in there. and all these cool projects and stuff in your blog, DarianBJohnson.com. So much to check out. Thank you so much.
When is your next thing coming? When's your next build? Like
all the time. There's
all
like
the time.
8 things going right now.
Oh, okay.
What's going on right now? There's a specific. Oh, I want to make a jewel thief. Do you know about those?
Oh yeah, I've heard about them. Yeah.
I think
Like
it'd be really
like as a ring or something, or just like as any kind of special, not jewel like ring jewel, but like the jewel thieves are like, if I understand them correctly, they suck energy from something else, and like there's some kind of thing. Like okay, yes.
the way the one I'm thinking of works is that it takes they sometimes call it a vampire circuit because you
Okay.
can take a nearly dead AA or AAA
Yeah.
battery and keep running like an LED off of it for ages until it like really drains it all the way down. And I think it's a cool, sustainable type of idea, and I think it'd be a cool gift to make for people, but just like make it into a nightlight or a tree ornament. I wanted to have it for the holidays, but I don't know that it's going to be done in time.
You can do it now for next holidays. Yeah. I think I saw one that was literally a ring. So when I first saw the jewel thief as a ring, I was like, oh, like they mean jewel ring? Like no, they mean like Joule.
Yeah, let me find the for people who aren't familiar, it's spelled Joule.
Yes.
As in energy, and yeah, it looks like that. It's really simple, but I've been having this huge problem figuring out which ferrite toroid to offer to order. Anyway, that's my story. That's my next thing, ideally, and then of course Rocco is like a work in progress, therapy bot kind of thing.
Is that a display for the eye, or is that just a?
This is a thing. It's like a little LCD Bluetooth button called Pins Collective, and my friend gave it to me with this animation on it, and I was cleaning and I found it, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I slapped it on this piece of rabbit fur masquerading as a robot, and you know, what if that was the face instead of this?
What's the skeleton made out of? What's that? What is that?
This is 3D printed pieces that could also be laser cut, honestly.
Okay.
And it's all janky right now, but they're held together by zip ties and spaced out by heat shrink because I wanted a skeleton that could sort of flex around.
Oh, flex a little bit. Hence the
And originally it was designed to sort of go back here, so it was going to curve, and I was going to be able to change the angle of the curves by just changing the size of the heat shrink I put in there. And then I can stick the electronics in there, and it's got like Velcro to hold the fur on.
Fascinating. I can't wait to see what this thing looks like when you're done.
I know. Me too. I wonder what it's going to look like in the end. It's changed a lot. It was going to be a cat, then it was going to be a raccoon.
It might be something. You might create a new thing altogether. So.
Well, I'll definitely share that when it's a thing, more of a thing. Probably some stuff of process along the way. Thanks so much for sharing your thing. I'll stay tuned.
Yes.
Let's see what comes next with the Newt.
Sign up for the Newt, right?
Yeah.
Like sign up. And if you love it, great. If you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it, and we'll see if we can make changes.
And it is so cool. And this lives on my desk now. Thank you so much for joining.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.
And thanks everyone for chiming in with your comments and stuff. It's good stuff. My favorite part of the week. See you, everybody.